All right, good evening. Today is Wednesday, July 9th. This is the regular board meeting. It's 7 o'clock. First order of business is resolutions. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. When you look on the roll, reflect that members present are Vince, Derek, and Dave. Absent are Lance, Josh, and Jeff. Was this meeting properly notified?
Yeah, yes, it was. As a reminder, it's being recorded.
All right. Public comment? None at this time. And there's no highlight on news, so we'll move on to comments by board members and superintendent. The referendum update.
Referendum construction still continues to be on time and under budget, so that's good news. I'm fortunate with the weather. The dry weather's really helped a lot, especially with all the earthwork. It was so important. And the track and field area and now the front parking lot. We'll start with the elementary, 4K edition. It's all enclosed, has been for a while now. They're doing sheetrock, or they finished sheetrock recently. They're doing mudding and taping. All the HVAC, electricians, plumbing, all that's in and ready to go. So they're going to be finishing up with mudding and taping, and then painting and flooring soon after that. The only couple things there, time contingent or sensitive, are the windows. Won't be until mid-August, but that's just a quick install, one-day thing. Just getting the glass in it, more specifically the aluminum that goes around it. And then there's a rooftop unit there that won't be placed until August 17th, but we'll be able to have occupancy before the rooftop unit. And again, the 4K staff want to get in there and as soon as possible. So it'll be tight. It'll definitely all be done and ready to go for the first day of school. Playground over there. Supposed to start Monday, but the playground equipment vendor had to push it back a week. But the curb is all ready for that, and the site work around there with the playgrounds and all the blacktop. Looked at where we're placing basketball hoops today, etc. So that's all progressing nicely. Unfortunately for kids' care, the playground had to be shut down for about 3 to 4 weeks here. They have other options, gym and other green space. At the high school, the turf athletic field is nearly complete. They'll be all done and out of here by Friday. So they were working throughout the night. They worked in the evening all night long, and we're actually sleeping today.
Yeah, they said it's better for the turf, like to do it when it's cooler out.
So it's all installed, and they put the first layer, they put a little layer of sand actually goes down, and then the rubber pellets, they had about half done. Finish that up, and then it's just kind of punch list things, cleaning up, sweeping, and then securing the outside edge, stretching it basically like regular carpet to the it's like a batten board inside the track. The track blacktop was installed, and it has a 30-day cure time before they can put the rubber on. So that's probably about 3 weeks left.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe after this week, I think there's 2 more weeks.
And then just lots of water main and plumbing and sewer and drainage, rainwater drainage stuff going on. You see the parking lots still tore up back yet too. And then moving around more to the front, the 4K edition. It's a 4K, virtual school edition. So it's enclosed kind of. I mean, it's not the final roof's on there, but the steel roofs, the studs are all up. Steel roof is on, and now they're putting the sheathing around the outside edge, and will be quickly followed by bricks next week. And then the main parking lot, I would say, is the big one. They're really doing a lot of work. You can kind of see the rough outline of what the parking lot's going to be. They just started tearing out the island in front today, this morning. Remove the shrubs, and then the footings are poured for the CT additions. I don't think they're right in the middle of forming, I think, the footings
Yeah.
for the ag
Yeah.
business edition. We went through staging plans today, about kind of where I'm parking. So we're ready for the first day of school and et cetera. So yeah, it's going really well. I don't have anything to
No, I
add
think
that
you
I
did.
missed. Yeah, been really happy
Yeah.
with Mark and Johnson and all our
Good
partners.
communicators on time. They are responsive to any questions or needs that we have. They're really good. The whole team is great.
Any questions? Project. Stacy's been trying to do, but doing a good job of getting updated photos out there on social media and our website. It's got a really good link there, time lapse things, etc.
Have you guys been out there?
Yeah, I just drove back tonight.
And they're either in the morning or
Mhm.
I have to drop my daughter off at volleyball, something or another all the time. So
It's good to see you.
After a couple of weeks.
I have to wash my car all the time.
Yeah.
Dusty.
So,
There's no other questions. We can go on to the 22-23 audit overview.
Yeah, so last Wednesday and Thursday, we had the auditors here in the conference room and we kept them busy just from the stuff they were asking and bills and getting them everything that they needed. And the grants really kept Sarah busy the whole first day, which is unusual. But we have a lot of grants, so more than a normal year. So that took her a while to get through. So I think they were rushing in the end to try to wrap things up on Thursday, but they got through the main stuff. And then as always, there's follow-up things later on. Like I'll get her the fixed asset reporting and we need to have an OPEB study done and those types of things. But the main part is done. It went very well. So we were all like, woohoo, just kind of breathe a sigh of relief and yeah. Thank you for all the people in the district office that really stepped up to the plate and, Sarah and Callie and Stacy even helped by taking notes for me last week. And, it's a lot to get together for them. So I really appreciate that. Too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody works as a team very
Good,
well
big deal.
together.
So thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so then we will move on to the superintendent annual review timeline. So that's Tim's eval that we do at the end of July and August and then wrap it up in September. And I will get that out to you, but just so you have a general idea of what's going on. So you're new.
Yeah.
So he has these goals. He will review them and then he sends out his review and his thoughts about them to us. And then we get to comment and rate him as well. And then I compile all that information and meet with him. We agree that it's good or, it's what, I guess what his performance is. And then we bring it to the board and we present it or he presents it and makes new goals and we sign off that it was complete. So we're looking at, he'll complete his assessment of his goals by August 8th. And I'll email that as a working document to the board. So you'll need to log into your email and that will be the day after we'll complete. I'll definitely send out reminders, but I'll give you a week or so to complete those, put in your data. And then Tim and I will meet by the end of August, August 30th at the very latest. And he'll develop his new goals by September 15th. And then we do closed session September 22nd and do his performance review. Any
sounds like a
questions?
plan.
Okay, cool.
You got it.
You got it right there. I'll send you lots of reminders, of course. But any questions? You did it. And Derek, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me or your fellow board members And
We'll
it's,
figure it out.
and as a first year board member, you've only worked with him for a couple of months, so just try, we understand. You don't know where some of it is, but, just do your best at filling it out. Okay, anything else? If not, we will move on to scheduled presentations by guests and staff members, and we have the mental health program, and it's Betty Johnson from Trinity Lutheran Church. Thanks, Betty, for coming.
Yes, thanks for having us. Sorry it's so late, but we should have meetings and we didn't get our ducks in a row.
Yeah.
So anyway, first of all, I just want you to know that we are so pleased to be able to do this for the school. He keeps us informed on what the money's used for, and we really appreciate that. So, anyway, on behalf of Trinity Lutheran Church, we would like to present $3,600. Now, here's the real stuff. Who would like to be the recipient of this?
Jen.
I can-
Jen?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. I'd like you to come up here. And then when this is done, if we could get some pictures so I could have,
Yeah.
put on our church
Whether
website.
except for pictures.
Oh, Jen.
Oh, Jen.
A couple would be fine.
We can buy
Hold on a minute.
1,800
I'm gonna
Powerball
give you my
tickets.
phone too.
We can buy 1,800 Powerball tickets.
They're $2.
So I guess we got this one for the picture.
Yes,
Yeah. All right.
first of all. And here's my phone. You just, if you want to zoom in, however. I know. My age, I need it. So here are the real checks. And there happens to be two because one did not get in this time when they wrote the check out for us. But anyway, it all goes to the same thing.
Look at you
So
go.
she got
Double.
Wow, that's really impressive.
She should
So-
bring straight cash.
You bet. Thank you.
I'll see you later.
We will. Yeah, we'll let the people know. And, if you haven't ever been to our spaghetti feeds, I encourage you to come. We have fun. Is it worth? Yes. Is it worth it? Every minute of it. So anyway, we will plan another one next year. If it will, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, we'll be there. So, anyway, thanks for having me here. And,
Thank you.
go for you again.
Thanks for everything you do.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
We will move on to financial reports.
All right, bank account balances as of June 30th, 2023. Assistant State Bank checking, $33,596.81. Assistant State Bank money market, $3,063,139.97. Assistant State Bank money market fund 46, $54.94. Assistant State Bank money market suicide prevention, $4,718 or $718.08. Debt service fund 39, $159,712.78. Fund 49A, $17,795,877.35. American Deposit, referendum, $8,923,746.72. And debt service of $144,567.58 for a total fund balance of $30,125,414.23.
Thank you, Vince. Do we have a motion to accept the financial reports?
Motion.
Second.
Dave? And Derek, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Do we not have to pay draws to mark it? So
Yep.
that,
Yeah, there's an actual draw schedule.
Yeah, we have a draw schedule and that comes out of those,
how much money was in there before?
well, we had 20 million
20.
in the one account and 10 million in the second one that are labeled
Oh.
referendum.
Okay,
Yeah,
so about 3 million, 3.2-ish million have been paid to market so far.
yeah. We've paid them a little bit more than that because we had a couple checks that went out right at the end of June that I haven't transferred money by June 30th for,
Mhm.
but
And then, we've invested that as well with American, what's the name of the company?
it's American Deposit Management. So they actually take the funds and divide it out to make sure that we're covered under the FDIC insurance for all of the, so the entire 20 million in the one account, the entire 10 million in the other. So, and then they take that and invest it in different things,
Mhm.
but it's very secure. So we have a lot of CDs that are earning 4 to 5% right now. And just even in the stuff that's more, the money that's more liquid to us that we can draw out right away, that's earning in the 3 to 4% range. So we're earning quite a bit of interest, which is nice.
And the length of those CDs and investments are based on the draw schedule, correct?
Right. So some of them are only 3 months, some might be 12 months, some might even be closer to 18 months,
Got
from the
it.
time we receive the
Yep.
funds.
Moving on to consideration of consent agenda. And there are no curricular modifications to report this month.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second,
So Vince made the motion, Derek second. Any comments, questions? All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Moving on to administrative reports. Gallup Q12 employee engagement presentation by Superintendent Tim Whitaker.
All right. Is it all right if I present from here, or would you like,
I think you're okay there.
I'll share it. So- Can you put in my? All right, not sure yet. Some of you are familiar with employee engagement, what it is, some of you aren't, so we'll just kind of start with a quick refresher. Again, what employee engagement is, I started it my second year here, so we're about to start year 10 now with Gallup's Q12 for measuring employee engagement. So what is employee engagement? Let's talk about first what it's not. Doesn't mean happy. It doesn't mean that somebody might be happy at work. Doesn't mean that they're productive. Happy Joe might whistle, make a lunch run, but doesn't mean that he's productive. So it's different than just being happy. Employee satisfaction you hear about sometimes is not synonymous. Engaged doesn't mean satisfied. As it said, they might be satisfied doing nothing and watching the clock all day. So again, that's not what engagement is. Defined, Gallup has a definition and Forbes, they're very similar. A heightened emotional connection an employee feels for his or her organization that influences him or her to exert greater discretionary effort to his or her work, or the emotional commitment the employee has to the organization and its goals. So we obviously want engaged employees, engaged staff equals engaged students and higher learning. Here's a visual, a great visual of what an unengaged or actively disengaged employee might look like. Instead of getting out or picking up the stick and drive over it. Why is it important? I already mentioned obviously engaged staff, engaged students equals higher learning, but as far in terms of employees, engaged employees have less absenteeism. Showing up is a pretty fundamental part of doing a good job. Less turnover if you're engaged, positive culture, less HR issues. If you work in manufacturing, safety, or if you work in retail, a lot less theft. But for us, our productivity is student achievement. Obviously financial too. There's a financial impact if we have disengaged or actively disengaged employees. And there's more. This really hits home. I understood it right away when they said, I'm like, yes, absolutely. Our work affects our home life, and our home life affects our work. Spillover and crossover effect. If we're having really stressful and bad experiences and disengagement at work, etc., that can spill over into your personal life and cross over more so to those around you. Kind of the bad apple, right? Spoils the whole barrel type of thing. Other benefits: better health. You better parent if you have kids, better spouse if you're married or partner. Lead with culture. Drucker, this hit home with me too. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can have the best strategy in the world, but if nobody cares, it isn't going to matter. Conversely, we can have bad strategies, we can have bad systems, bad policies, but we have a strong culture that will overcome people that are engaged to figure it out. So there are different tools, but really the national and the worldwide standard, Gallup Q12, getting too in-depth. I mean, Gallup has done tons of research and they settled on these 12 questions. That's why it's called Q12, 12 questions. And we'll look at them a little bit later, and feel free to just interject and ask questions if you have any, please. So nationally, back in 2013, it's changed by a couple percentage points for each, but over the last 9 years, the last research this past year, 34% of employees across the United States are engaged, and 50% are disengaged, and 16 are actively disengaged. So that's nationwide trends for all companies that take the Q12. Pretty surprisingly low, right? And I'll show you our numbers. And we started out there, actually pretty darn close to that.
When you started doing this?
When we started doing this in 2013. They have a very positive trend. Here are the 12 questions. I know what is expected of me at work. And I'll get into some are more important than others. Basically, the bottom ones are a foundation. And 12 are the top couple are a little higher order, but I'll explain that in a good little visual here.
This is funny because I have to take this every year.
Yeah.
The same exact 12 questions in my industry as it is here.
Yep, it is. Yep. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. This is Gallup, same 12. I have the materials and equipment I need to do my work. Right. I mean, again, all these make sense. If you're confused and you're like, doesn't make any sense. I don't even know what I need to do. And then I do know what I need to do, but I don't have the equipment to do it. Question 3 at work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day. Obviously, that's important. Question 4, in the last 7 days, I've received recognition or praise for doing good work. Question 4 and question 7 are ones that are always our biggest areas for growth.
Is that hail?
It's just some damn.
Hopefully
It might be the
Or is it the
damper in the
wind?
wind.
Oh,
On the rooftop. And, we've talked about this. Our consultant, when we first started, he says, no, it's not really 7 days. I said, no, you don't know educators. They're literal. Like I believe, and from feedback, it is. In the last 7 days, they kind of count and think like, nope, it was 8 days ago and score lower or whatever. But we've been very intentional with shout outs, for example. I don't know, very common in our buildings, in our weekly staff newsletters, the principals organize the shout outs. And it's not just the principal recognizing, it's everybody contributes and gives shout outs from thank you for bringing cookies to you really helped me get through a tough situation with student. Things like
Every week.
every week. Question 5, my supervisor or someone at work seems to care about me as a person. And again, some people struggle, they see my supervisor, but we remind them, or someone at work, right? Because we're a tribe, we're a team, we're a family. It's not just your boss's responsibility, right, to care. There's someone at work who encourages my development. Again, that could be anyone. We do, focus on our administrators for leading the development. But our PLCs, professional learning committees, are a huge part of that. Learn from each other. at work, my opinions seem to count, and if we do struggle with that. And again, we recognize there's a difference between hearing your opinions and not necessarily making a decision based on that. Because you might have an opinion it's black, I might have an opinion it's white, and we go with gray, and everybody's unhappy, or vice versa, only 50%, right? But we really are intentional, especially with honest conversations about getting the feedback, and then trying to explain to folks just because we didn't make the decision that you wanted doesn't mean that your opinion didn't count. We considered that, but I think that's a tough hurdle in many organizations. Let's say hurdle, I guess just area for growth, improvement. Question 8, the mission or purpose of my company makes me feel my job is important. We obviously in education score really well on that one. My associates or fellow employees are committed to do quality work. That's another top scoring year after year. We have people that care, and it shows. If you don't, it shows quickly too. Question 10, I always thought was odd. I have a best friend at work, and again, our consultant said, not necessarily take it literal. It really means more about I have somebody who cares about me and I can talk to at work. But again, you don't know educators. Best friend needs best friend. In the last 6 months, and that's the one we can not have as an actionable action plan as effective as other ones, perhaps. But we're intentional with socials and opportunities like that. But yeah. And again, like I said, as they get higher, they're less impactful. In the last 6 months, someone at work has talked to me about my progress. We think that's very critical, and we have a system set up where, especially with our certified staff, educator effectiveness is required at least quarterly. In the last year, I've had opportunities at work to learn and grow. So those are the 12 questions. And again, this is kind of hierarchy, or I talked about questions 1 and 2 were basic, up to higher questions 11 and 12 are more about growth. Here's an example, just the old reports up until the last couple of years. They looked like this. There's a lot of information. This was just the cover page right here. You can see 2018 overall. And I should add, we always give these between December 1st and December 23rd, the last day before Christmas break. Always pick the same window. And the reason is, let's get going. We got new staff that might not even know their culture. Does that mean tornado, or does that just mean severe?
Just
weather?
visit a thunderstorm warning.
Till the roof goes up.
Yeah, we're all right. We can just dive into these. They're pretty
Please,
heavy
I will not
duty.
be offended if you check your radar right.
Severe thunderstorm warning until 8 p.m. Additional alert, severe thunderstorm warning watch.
I say we go outside and look at this.
Heavy rain is expected for 49 minutes, followed by light rains. Ooh,
We just started.
clearly.
Okay, we'll keep going. Anybody feels uncomfortable or knows something, just interject. You're not very engaged right now.
Sorry. I thought we were still talking about the thunderstorm, and I was confused on something else.
And again, looking at this, there's engagement index, which you can see this current year was 69% engaged, 28% disengaged, 3% actively disengaged. And to get your ratio, you divide 69 divided by 3, and that's where you get 23 to 1. So you're engaged versus divided by your actively disengaged. So obviously, it's 2 ways to increase your ratio. Most effective way is to really reduce this denominator here, the actively disengaged, for many reasons, not just to improve our ratio. And at this time, and we still do it, the report showed the previous year to kind of compare it to the past year and then the current. Then they color code it. This year was a really good year. Everything was green overall. And then you can break it down. Let's make sure this isn't something. Weather. No.
It's not that everything got better except for the actively disengaged got worse.
Yeah,
Isn't
right.
that weird?
Yeah, right. But 69 to, so the 10% better must have
That just means that
beat out the 1%.
the happy people are really happy, right? Like, so then
You can break it out by job type, right? So administration, teacher, para, bus driver, secretary. We're gonna call them admin assistants now. Back then, we're still calling them secretaries. District office. And if it's less than 5, and well, I take that back. I thought it was 5. Looks like 4 answered here. Then they don't have a score at all, because then it kind of then there's no anonymity.
Whatever that group is, does not have a friend at work.
With the bus drivers. Drivers?
Bus drivers, yeah, almost every year had, because
They have like
one-
maybe little friends on there.
yeah.
Feel bad for that group.
Job type, custodial maintenance, food service, again, there weren't enough for there. And then other support staff, there's a lot of other support staff. Then we go by location. This again, 2018. Elementary, middle, high.
Really looking for a lot of leadership. There, maybe this isn't the right place to say this, but is administration, or not administration, but is the school not a self-starter type of industry?
So why do you say that? What did you see?
Because everybody, the lowest score across the board on all of these is knows what's expected.
Oh, yeah, we have, so I'll get to that. We have feedback sessions every year, and sometimes it was like I think it was this middle, no, it wasn't that. It might have been. Remember, the standards-based grading was one year where I know the high school was really low. You know, we dig into the why.
Yeah.
What does that mean? So like, what do you mean? What
You
don't
don't-
you know what's expected?
Right.
And oftentimes it's things we hadn't thought of. So that's why those feedback sessions are great. The location, and then by manager. So there's mine, for example. So just list the manager in the top right. Brian for the bus drivers, Pat for all special ed staff, Shelley elementary, Pete for the middle school, Kurt high school, Greg for the custodial. So right, we break it down that way as well. So you can look at it different ways that way. So that's just an example. I didn't want to get too much into the weeds with stuff that was 5 years old. That's the way the reports used to look. And then this is just one example of how we compared the 3 years for school board conference in Milwaukee. John Hume and I presented that year, but it was nice just to kind of compare them.
Yeah, people are starting to find more friends.
The question you're looking at.
You guys are friends, like it or not. No. That's how we fix that.
It's Lockman or.
And this is just an example, right? We took the 3 years of engagement index as well. So now here's the one that shows all of them. Just did it spreadsheet. Just color coded them for no particular color. Trying to keep it all. So yeah, the grand mean is what you saw on the cover page. Again, 33% engagement that first year, which I believe the nationwide norm was 34. 50 and 16. So we're similar with the small engagement index ratio. So like we didn't do anything. We just measured it the first year. Then we got the consultant, we started doing some action planning, and then it grew at a nice rate until 2019, dropped down, and now we're climbing back up. And this past year, we've got the highest grand mean we've ever had. Our consultant, he does this work with many people, and he knows he's the expert, but he said, we're in the world-class engagement ratio, especially with that 29.5 that year. But he said, to have these numbers, and he goes, everything above a 4 is really good. And if you go up 1 percentage point, it's really impactful at that, because you're closer to the top, right? It's hard to really get improvement, is the way he explained it. But you can see the numbers, even through COVID, there in 2020, 2021, still remained pretty high. And the latest research showed lots of companies struggled there in those years. And then even more specifically, though, this would be no surprise, that's when the kind of work from home trend started. And Gallup says people that work from home are more engaged. Work from home are more engaged in kind kind of more today's workforce want those benefits and those types of perks and benefits and show that the employer cares about them as a person and work-life and work balance.
Are the not engaged and the actively disengaged, are they combined in the same category? Like if you're not engaged, are you automatic, or you know what I mean? Like, could that be one and the same person for some of them?
No.
Okay.
No, so actively disengaged and how they can tell for sure, exactly, I'm not sure, through the questions, but those are the people that are defined as actively working against you. They're hurting you. The yellow, not engaged, they're just kind of neutral, right? They're not in drive. Engaged, obviously, are driven, but the other folks are in reverse.
Yeah. And like
That's
Jeff
not
would
good.
say, what, we got 30% or
Yeah, and then
She
Jeff
says it
brought
every
that
year.
up years ago. Well, how many people is that? Well, that's 13 people. That's a lot.
Because we're what, 200 employees? Or?
214.
I get that at the end, 282, I think is my little slide. So this, 148, 54, and 13. So these are the ones.
It's like 15 people actively, roughly then.
Well, this was the actual number in 2022.
Oh,
So now we added throughout the year for next year.
I mean, I should focus on the green number, but
Well, we got to focus on both. So the yellow are the ones that we can influence. Basically, this is high level thinking.
yeah,
The red,
you
are
can
the
move
ones,
them, but those other people are there.
It's only one way to move them.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that a little bit. And you never get 100%. Right away, Gallup says buy 80%, right? If you have 100 employees, buy 80 of them first. You can always add and buy more surveys because they're $15 a pop. They were back then, they still are. So that's an investment in getting this test. So, and then over the last few years, I'm like, we hit the quota and then we add a few more. We get to 215. But yeah, if we have 280 employees, we would like all of them to take it, but they don't. And like Bob had said too, typically you're actively disengaged are the ones that are definitely going to take the opportunity to take it in this experience. So then there's just kind of the comparison the year before, the numbers, and then the nationwide percentage. That's the percentage, not the number of people. And here is just a nice article again from Gallup. Sign up for their monthly newsletters, but again, the engagement slump has been a slump nationwide in recent years. That's where I talked about. And here it talks about working from home folks. Again, the second half of 21, actually, COVID obviously affected that nationwide. Culture, flexible work environment. Focus on employees' well-being, and then tailor communication. Those are big 3 action things that anyone can do to increase their employee engagement. And I think we do a really good job of the well-being. We're very intentional with wellness. Brenda Simone leads our wellness committee, and we have every PD day, we have wellness activities. We're very intentional about our health insurance, our virtual, all the things. Health partners, we're very employee wellness driven. All right, back to the slide here. So our action plan since we first started, our measurement has been Q12 and school report cards. That very first year is an aha moment where Bob, our consultant, showed us our lowest engagement scores were at the elementary, our lowest school report cards at elementary. Our middle engagement scores at the middle school, our middle report card score was middle school. Highest was the high school and high school report card. That was a big kind of light bulb. It hasn't held true though every year. I mean, as you know, the report cards measure a lot and it's based mostly on student standardized testing. It doesn't measure culture instead. Feedback sessions with groups, that's been a big help. We listen and say, all right, how can we improve and brainstorm our strategies, our action plans, staff attendance, and I'll show you that's an example. I just thought, well, let's start tracking attendance because show up. You're not very effective and your engagement isn't very good. Honest conversations are just a part of our culture now. And then wages and benefits. We've always been listening. We still do. You still do. Meet and confer. even though we don't have a union, and obviously the referendum was an example. Pretty unique. And then the key work of school boards, just your work. It starts at the school board level, just focusing on alignments, our mission and vision, our beliefs and commitments. And then, it's a team, the Panther family. We are responsible for X, Y, and Z students, right? We're talking about a student, it's not just because you have him or her as a teacher. We all are responsible for the culture. So it's instead of I do, it's we do. 2022 results. Again, I'll show you the overview. First of all, because again, we can get into the weeds here. That's not it. So again, this is what the report looks like. Frankly, I like the old report the better. This is more visual and you can figure them out, but it still has everything in here. But our average, our overall grant mean 4.36. We've increased to 0.13. Had 215 respondents, just like we did the year before, which puts us in the 72nd percentile in Gallup's overall database. And it shows your highest Q12, question 3, and opportunity to do best, and question 9, committed to quality. Our lowest, know what's expected, which at a 4.55, was kind of confusing. That's a really high score. And recognition, like I said, it's usually 4 and 7. This past year was 1 and 4.
So a whole bunch of people must have known what was expected, and then the detractors must have really not known what was expected.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the only way that could populate that way?
Yeah, I don't remember we had this. This was completed right after Christmas and had the conversation in January. There were no ahas from it. I remember. I would have remembered. Yeah, I mean 4 and 7 still. That's still a 65th percentile, 57th percentile. But yeah, 50. How I put them in the 55th percentile at a 4.55 when it's almost our highest score. 4.6 is my coworkers are committed to do quality work. So. Then there's our engagement index, 69, 25, and 6. So again, you can look at it by types of jobs, managers, and locations as well. And if you're interested in learning more, just for time's sake, let me know. I can share all this with you.
Question 10 was up.
Question, best friend.
Yeah.
Again, we started tracking attendance early on, but guess what stopped that after 1920? It's tracking attendance, COVID and all the stuff.
You threw me for a loop when you said 1920.
Oh yeah.
We
didn't do 2021.
19.
And we were trending very well, and it wasn't just tracking it, right? It's kind of like you don't make a cow fatter by measuring it, but we were doing a lot of other things. Attendance incentives. We were doing monthly drawings for folks that had perfect attendance using our school debit card, school credit card. We get free $50 gift cards just from, so it didn't cost us anything, but we think that helped. But yeah, once COVID hit, it changed things. Like we really didn't want to encourage people to show up sick, and we always said that. We said family life's going to happen with kids having ear infections, and you have medical appointments, and you have reasons to be gone. But again, we talked about the discretionary. And my message, overarching message always was, you are the best person for the job, right? We hired you. Oftentimes you beat out 100 other candidates. You're the best person for this job. And when you're gone, even the best sub in the world isn't going to do what you do. So, if you're like, I'm not feeling that great, but that discretionary effort, you're the best, the job the best, and the lost day of learning would not be good. And we just try to balance that. And it seemed to help because you can see our attendance increased every year. This is tracked by the number of subs in our ASOP thing. But that is no longer in terms of tracking attendance. Honest conversations, these are some examples. These are the 4 we asked the first year. We've mixed it up so it's not kind of the same thing every year. So they are honest, reflective, helpful opportunities for growth. They're not evaluated or evaluatively used against you, minus a mandatory reporter type of things. Again, because what we permit, we promote. I love that saying. It's true. We permit, we promote. So we address the things we don't want to permit or promote. This is a new initiative, introduced it to the admin team end of June, and we're going to hit it hard. Get going, started with our first admin meeting of the year, August 1st. But again, this isn't anything we invented, our consultant again, usually this is potential in the Y axis here, and performance, this and a lot of the times the 9 box, but this is another values performance type of 9 box we really like. So we defined what values and performance are, right? And then I had each administrator put their staff members in one of those boxes, right? We did that at SAIL or admin retreat, and then we talked about what makes a star, what makes the high, why, the whys, after we again define what high values and high performance look like. And again, my charge to everyone is we want to be a district where everybody's a star. And it's up to our admin to coach people up to be a star. We want people that are a star, at least are going to be or working to be a star. We talk about like core player. You're like, moderate values, moderate performance. Is that good enough? No, that's an okay place to visit, but we don't want our employees to live there. We want them to be growing and reaching. We want a district full of top right stars, high values and high performance. And so that's the big initiative this year, and it's one at a time. Our honest conversations are going to be sitting down. The supervisor will sit down with the employee and say, this is where I have you. I have you in this box, and this is why. If it's star, this is why. And they give examples of what makes you high values and high performance and what they've observed and seen. If they're a potential gem, maybe they're new, they got high values, but they just need more experience. And they'll say, well, your performance is lacking a little bit. There's areas of growth and engaging all students, for example. And this is how I'm going to help get you there. So that's, again, if we truly believe that people make the difference, it's all about people. We want to have a district full of top-notch people with high values and high performance. And again, I say this because this ties right into our employee engagement, but it's tying into our strategic plan and a lot of alignment. And then lastly, just, this is something when I first came, I remember some of the ladies in the district office saying this, we're not a small school anymore. The year before I came here, 12-13, it was at 190. So track that since then. And it's got this number from Callie and Michaela this week, 282. It's where we're at last year. So that's almost doubled in 10 years. I'm sorry, doubled 50%. That'd be 100%. But that's a lot to add 92 employees. I started with 190. All right. Any questions on employee engagement?
How does that align with not that it would be a bad thing to increase employees and not have students, like how does that go with student, like the population, like?
Yeah, I did.
Like,
Student teacher.
Student, yeah. Well, it's not even teacher, it's just employee.
Right. Third Friday count this month, of course. But yeah, it was just over 1,000, I believe.
And 1,200 maybe.
But
I think
in
that's
like
deceiving because we also have the virtual school now, which has grown, but they're not our resident students. So we would have to factor that in.
But what was it in 2013?
I want to say 1,200.
And not that like it's bad if that percentage, because
Right.
it just means we're investing more into our students with staff.
So we've invested in,
Yeah.
I'd say staff over stuff.
Yeah.
It's our model, like people make the difference, not more textbooks. Although
Pretty cool school that we're building.
Yeah. Stop sharing.
Any other questions? We can move on then. Thanks, Bridget. The key work of our school board, the recognition there is none at this time. So we'll move on to consideration of approval of the annual notices. Exhibit 12B.
Yeah, so annual notices are required to be updated every year, so the WASB puts out a packet every year of all the notices that are required, as well as what is required to be within those notices, and then they also let us know what has changed from the prior year. So this year there was like only 3 changes, and if you look at the exhibit, I made a note of those over on the far right column. They were all really minor changes, and then once we update everything, Stacy puts them in our newsletter that goes on August. They're all posted on the website, and then a lot of them are in the handbook, and then we also have a couple that get published in the paper. So,
Okay.
Yeah, those have all been done, and then we also have, there's a couple notices that are just what our policies are. So since we've updated some policies this spring, we've been able to update with our new policies from our old. And there will be 2 more tonight, but pending approval, will be able to be updated as well, so.
Thank you, Kelly. So we do need a motion.
Motion to approve the annual notices.
Second.
Vince made the motion, Dave second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Moving on to consideration of approval of notice identifying people, academic standards in mathematics, science, reading and writing, geography, and history for SCC School District for the 23-24 school year. Exhibit 12C.
Similar, pursuant to our state statute 12012 13, we need to have annual approval of this school board. These are on our website. That's our publication forum for that. And we have to do 2 of them, one for our brick and mortar school and one for the St. Croix Virtual Academy. Separate motion? Yeah.
Motion to approve the annual notice identifying academic standards in mathematics, science, reading, writing, geography, history for the brick and mortar schools.
Second. So Vince made the motion, Derek second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to consideration of approval.
Motion to do the same for virtual schools.
All right, so Vince did the motion, second.
Second.
Derek made the second.
So these standards are the same for both schools, right?
Right.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, you were going to say it, sorry. It was C and D, sorry.
It's all right. Good. Okay, so I think we're good, right? Moving on to core agenda items. Review of proposed 23-24 budget and levies to be presented at the annual meeting. And that's Jen, and you've got your handout here.
So we made an annual meeting packet for everyone tonight to get a preliminary look at everything that goes into the packet. We're gonna start with the financial portion, which is on page 8. And then once we're done with that, then we'll kind of go back through and explain what else is in the packet. So if you want to turn to page 8. Should we wait for Vince or?
So he's our secretary or treasurer. He knows what's going on.
I feel like we have such a small group here and this is so exciting. So as of June 30th, our fund balance remains stable at 17%. We added about $370,000 into the fund balance to make that happen. This coming year, we're projecting an additional $110,000 to be added to the fund balance to maintain that 17%. So a little bit less, but as you'll see as we go through it, our expenditures aren't expected to increase as much as they did from the prior year. Our revenues, so this is Fund 10 only. We'll go through the other funds later on. So sources are all of our revenues and they're categorized. So anything that is a source 100 is a operating transfer. We did not have any that came into Fund 10, so there is nothing there. Source 200 is money from local sources. So that's like the students paying an athletic fee or entry fees to games and those types of things. So one thing I want to point out is source 260. You can see that in 21-22, we collected almost $100,000 in that source. In 22-23, we only collected about 39,000, and next year we're projecting about 90,000. So that has to do with those cap class fees. So in 21-22, we collected the fees. In 22-23, Oshkosh collected the fees themselves, and now for 23-24, they have told us that we will be collecting the fees again. And I know you guys approved the change to that student fee schedule last month when you met. So that was one thing I wanted to point out. And then just overall with the tax levy and that in source 210. So we're basing that off a 2 student increase to our September count, and then a 38 FTE for summer school, which is the same as it was for 22-23. The student per pupil rate is increasing by $325 is what we've heard from the state. So I plugged that into the revenue limit worksheet, and that's how we get the levy, and then you'll see how much in a little bit here that our estimate for general aid is. So that's the 4.9 million there for 23-24. So interest on investment, source 280 was another one I wanted to point out. You can see that in 21-22, we only made $3,500 in interest, and rates skyrocketed this past year. So we made almost 100,000 on the money that we have sitting in the bank, of course, for Fund 10. We're projecting that to continue into next year, not continue to accelerate, but just to remain stable. 310. So the 300 sources are money that we receive from other Wisconsin school districts. So source 310 is our open enrollment in. So we are projecting a slight increase here for that. And the day after this was sent to the newspaper, DPI released the actual numbers. So we will be revising this up a little bit. The open enrollment amount is going from $8,224 per student to $8,618. So that's about a 4.8% increase. So we'll be able to bump up that source 340 revenue. And of course, once we get to October and we set the levy, we will also know the exact number of students and all those things, so we can take that into account.
Has there been an influx of students from Hudson that have open enrolled in the last few weeks or tried to with the post June 1st deadline?
I'm not sure. Abby is the one that.
Yeah, and I signed each one. I mean, there's been 2 or 3 per day, but I only remember a couple from Hudson so far.
No.
So source 500,000 is money from intermediate sources. So 510 transitive aids. That's a nursing grant that we received this year. We did not spend the entire amount. It was approximately $15,000. We spent about 10,000 of that. The rest will go into next year. So under source 510, you can see those amounts, and of course, nothing prior, because that's the only thing that we've had in there in a while. Source 590, we did get our Carl Perkins allocation for next year, and you can see that it increased quite a bit from the prior year, but it's a fairly small amount. So from about $5,400 up to about $10,000. Source 600 is all the money that we receive from the state. So we have our state general aid, that $13,778,122. That is the other part of the revenue limit equation. So what we levy plus our state aid plus a few other little things is what makes up our revenue limit. So this is the July 1st estimate from the state. So they will certify that for us on October 15th. And then shortly after that, we'll set the levy using the actual amount for the year. Special project grants, source 630. In 21-22, we had CTE and educator effectiveness in there. This past year, we also had a substantial amount for the mental health grant. I think we did have a small amount in 21-22, but it was much more in 22-23, about $40,000. And then we also received 2 CTE grants during the year. Usually receive the funds in June. For some reason, last year they paid it out in August, and then this year they paid it in June. So that amount will be going down quite a bit to about $42,000 for next year. Source 660 for 22-23, that included funds for the Restore grant. That is for the tech ed, all of Garrett Rentals equipment and stuff. So we will be receiving that again, but we're trying to, we'll figure out by October, like how much of that is going to be spent this next year and get that plugged in. So right now it's not including any additional CTE grant revenue on the revenue side or the expenditure side. Source 730 is our, well, federal sources are 700, start with 700. So 730 is where we had our ESSER funding this year. And we will also have some next year. We were able to carry over about $160,000 worth of ESSER 3 funding. And then we will also be using some of our EBIS grant. So this $892,000 for next year includes those amounts. We also are seeing an increase in source 750 for our Title I aid. It's based on the poverty level in our county. And we saw an increase where we were eligible for the next pool of money. So I think it's under, is it 5 or 10%? I can't remember.
5.
5%. So if you're under 5%, you're only eligible for the first bucket. If you go over 5%, then you're eligible for another bucket of money at the federal level. So this year we were bumped up into that second bucket. So instead of seeing only about 55,000 like we did this year, we're going to be almost double at 105,000. And we've had this happen in the past before too, because we tend to be right on that edge. So every once in a while we get bumped up, some years then we're back down. So it just depends on how they calculate that poverty rate. Source 780 is usually it's just Medicaid cost settlements mostly that go into that fund. But the last 2 years we have received COVID relief funding that Governor Evers had signed off on. So thus the increase for those 2 years. This next year, I haven't heard anything about receiving those funds. So it will go back down to about 45,000 for Medicaid cost settlement approximate. amount. Source 800s are just money received from other financing sources. So I wanted to point out source 870. You can see in 21-22, there is a large amount there that had to do with adjustments when we implemented GASB 87, which had to do with leases. And we needed to go back on all the leases that we had, even if it wasn't the original year, and make those adjusting entries. So that's why it's decreased quite a bit in 22-23. That was our bus lease that we took out. And we do have one more bus on order. So the amount in 23-24 is an estimated amount.
Isn't a bus like 225,000?
We've been getting them for right around 110 to
Oh.
120 in
There's a
there,
lot
the
to 'em.
international.
It's not
Eli beams and a
It seems like it's so much money.
I know. They are expensive. So overall, our receipts in 22-23 were increased by about 8%. And we're expecting for this next year that they will increase about 2%. So that's Fund 10 receipts. Any questions on that? All right, we'll move along to Fund 10 expenditures then. So most of the changes that you see in the expenditures are from salary and benefit changes. So overall, in all the different functions, in 22-23, we added quite a few different staffing positions that impacted all of the different functions. So we had hired one FTE elementary special ed teacher, one FTE math interventionist, a half-time behavioral interventionist, and a half-time Spanish teacher. We had quite a few changes at the virtual charter school that amounted to about 2.5 FTE. And then we added a computer tech. So all of those changes hit the numbers for 22-23, along with the referendum salary schedule going into place. So most of the functions for 22-23, we're seeing between, I'm going to say a 13 and 16% increase. And that mostly has to do with those salary increases and then of course adding those staffing positions. For 23-24, we have added a few positions, a 0.2 increase in our virtual school psychologist, a 0.25 increase in our virtual school English for high school English, and another 0.25 for high school science at the virtual charter school, one FTE instructional coach, one FTE high school special ed teacher, and a one FTE elementary 4th grade teacher. So those are the things that are baked into the 23-24 budget for the expenditures. So we did place again this year, everybody on those referendum salary matrices that we updated and approved in May. Health insurance, if you recall, we had a decrease for calendar year 2023 of 17%. We will be in the 3rd year of our agreement with them starting in 2024, and our maximum increase is 11%. So even if it increases the full 11%, we still won't be back to where we were. We'll still be 6% less. So we're in a really good position there. I did estimate a 5% increase in dental insurance starting January 24. And then as we talked about last year, we are keeping the district 403P contribution at 2%. And then I did not estimate an increase for vision, life, disability, those amounts. If we do see an increase, it's usually fairly minimal. And we add that when we set the levy in October. I did hear that WR rate our WRS rates are increasing slightly, but only 0.1% for the district and 0.1% for the employee. So again, a fairly small amount, but I was able to get that in. So some of the other things that I wanted to point out that are maybe not in relationship to the staffing changes. Function 130,000 saw a very large increase in 22-23, and that was because of that restore grant for Garrett Wenzel. So, and again, now seeing it go back down again, because we're not including that as of now, we'll get that in at a later date. 260,000. We did see it's a high percentage increase. It's a smaller like amount. So we did add some equipment in the auditorium, and that's kind of what bumped that up to be a higher percentage of an increase. And then we did see some functions that decreased. We had function 280,000 for debt services decrease about 70%. That was due to that lease adjustment again from 21-22 inflating that number. So, and as well as the 490,000 function. Other than that, I don't think I had anything else as far as expenditures. Oh, no, one more thing. The transfer, function 410,000, the transfer to fund 27. I do have that increasing almost 18% for next year. And I think it's because this year we were short-staffed the entire year of 22-23. We were short 5 paraprofessional positions. So for next year, we basically swapped out 3 para positions for the high school sped teacher. And then we're still planning on hiring 2 other para positions. So I think it's just, it was low this year in comparison to what it should have been had we been fully staffed. So that's why it's increasing a little bit more. And then again, for function 430,000, we will adjust that open enrollment revenue going out to other districts for our resident students that are attending other districts when we set the levy in October, because by that time we'll have a pretty good idea of the number of students that are going out. And now we have those updated amounts. Any other questions on revenues? All right, we'll go into the next page then. Page 10 starts our special funds. So I won't go into these in too much detail, but basically the special projects fund is fund 21 and our special ed fund 27. They're combined together there. The ending fund balance that you see there is the amount that's in those fund 21 accounts. So those are our student activity accounts, and they carry a balance from year to year. So you can see that they did spend down a little bit of their balance again. They had in the prior year too. So they went from having $402,000 in their accounts to $393,000. So just by a little bit. Otherwise, we kind of talked about the special ed costs there. Fund 38 is our energy efficiency non-referendum debt. So you can see how much we're levying and how much we're paying out for that debt each year. And then, of course, Fund 39 debt, that is where all of our referendum debt payments are put each year. And then when we have refinancings of debt and stuff, that goes in there as well. So you can see the numbers for 22-23 are inflated because we had refinanced that ban that we took out in June of 22. Or maybe it was May, and we refinanced it in July. That added to that amount. That was $20 million. And then of course our payments coming out of there. We were able to keep our mill rate assuming an 8% increase in property values at that $9.20 per thousand. And with that, we can levy an additional 1.25 million for mill rate stability again. So we'll be able to prepay down some more debt. The 2.8 million that we levied in 22-23 will actually go as a payment on the final 10 million that we borrowed in April. So that payment will come out this coming year. Fund 40, that is where all of our building projects money goes into and out of. So you can see again that we had the 10 million coming in 22-23 for that April final 10 million. And then what we spent, and then back to the draw schedule, you can see that we're anticipating to spend about 18.5 million in 23-24 for the construction projects. That's at the elementary and high school combined and middle school. Food service. So we have been working all year to spend down some of our fund balance. The federal government says we can keep 3 months operating expenditures as a fund balance. And we were a little bit high at the end of the 21-22 school year because we still had COVID relief money coming. All of the meals were being paid by the federal government, and they had increased the reimbursement rate substantially because a lot of districts were experiencing higher food costs. We lucked out because Chartwell's had already locked in all their contracts. So our food costs were relatively stable, but then it hurt us in the fact that now our fund balance is too high. So we had to spend it down. So we were able to spend down about $200,000 worth of our fund balance by upgrading the kitchens. So they have gotten a lot of new equipment in the kitchens, from ovens to pizza ovens to hot wells to refrigerated cases, and just a whole slew of equipment, and much needed at, you know, like the high school, especially being built in 99, all of that equipment was original. So it was time to upgrade that. So we are still working on spending about $50,000 more of that down. So I think we're still getting a new cashier stand. And what was the other one? I did another one today. I can't remember what that one was.
They have to spend by when?
We just have to certify that we're working on a plan. So in April, I had to complete paperwork for DPI, and I laid out the plan of everything we were purchasing. And obviously some of that couldn't be done by June 30th, you know, because it takes a little bit longer lead time and stuff to get that stuff in. But yeah, so we should be good as far as that goes. You know, we'll try to spend down that additional 50,000 this year, and then that should be the end of it. And then, of course, Fund 80 is our community service funds. We're anticipating a little bit extra revenue because we're adding that wraparound care for 4K in the kids care program. But we are also, Central Rec is going to be starting their own 501c3. So they will basically be spending down the balance that they have with the district and then going out on their own. They just felt like they had a lot more flexibility being able to do it themselves rather than being a part of the district. So you can see then on the middle of page 10, the proposed tax levy. And again, that's assuming an 8% increase in property values. That's actually less than our 5-year average. I can't remember what that was. I don't think I have it, but I want to say it was like 10% or something for the 5-year average. So I think that's fairly conservative. But even so, it's, you know, we can adjust that to keep our mill rate in that range that we would like, right around that 920, barring anything unforeseen. Any questions on that?
So if it comes in high, we'll just keep it at the 920 or?
Well, what we can do is we have that debt prepayment amount of 1.25 million that we can change that
Okay.
to keep it lower. If for some reason we have a large increase in students or something like that, then we might not be able to keep it at 920 even without levying that additional. But I'm not anticipating that from the, you know, population studies that we've had completed. And
All right.
okay.
Thanks for being predictable again. It's good, right?
Yeah.
Page 23 has that,
Oh, does it?
property valuation. Yeah, in the last 5 years, like 7, 12, 8, 17. Last year was really high.
Yeah, so like I said in the beginning, this is the annual meeting packet, so this is exactly how it will look on Monday, unless we have some changes as we go through it. But we are set for the budget hearing starting at 7 p.m. at the elementary school library next Monday, the 24th. And then, of course, we have our table of contents and our agenda on page 2. Page 3 has the resolutions that we will adopt at Monday's meeting. Page 4 and 5 are the meeting minutes from last year's annual meeting that we will approve. Page 6 is the treasurer's report, exactly the same tonight. Page 7 is the letter from our auditors saying they have come in and audited our books. And then, of course, we went through pages 8 to 11. I didn't mention this, but pages 12 and 13 are the same information that we went through. It's just a more condensed version of it. So we're required to post it in the newspaper these 2 different ways. So the first week, the longer version is posted in the newspaper. The second week, this more condensed version is posted in the newspaper. Page 14 is our Fund 80. Actually, it's 14 through 16, our Fund 80 summary. So if you want more information about how our community service fund works or what programs there are, you can look at that. And then as a part of our energy efficiency levy, we are required to post our savings annually. So this is updated each year from McKinstry on page 17. And then on page 18, we have our 22-23 mill rate summary from CISA that shows all of our CISA districts and their mill rates for this past year.
I thought that was interesting. We dropped our whole from 10.2 to 9.2 and still went the wrong way in the ranking.
Yeah.
But again, everybody, and I don't know. I think it's because everyone's property valuation went up, obviously, but I think the real telling number is the second from the last column on the right, the TIF out equalized value. Like St. Grace Central is 1,053,714,600, right? So 1 billion, when you look down Webster, right, and their small budget, but they're property rich, right? They got 1.8 billion in property and only a 3.87 mill rate.
It all depends on the jump of the district though, right? Like ours is just to keep the mill rate flat.
Yeah, correct.
Like we could have had years where we lowered it, that
Even lower,
you know, but we keep it, you know, so.
And then of course then it's always more, right? We've got the referendum debt and the operational levy, you know, and it's just this one sheet is incredibly complicated. This is a summary.
But the way we've always done stuff has kept us in a really good spot as
Yep.
far, you know, so. Predictable.
That's okay in my book.
Yep.
No, but you could literally move a couple points each year if you really wanted to, but
So pages 19 through 22 are all of our debt service payments. This is a document that Baird gives us each year. And then 23 is our equalized values. So yeah, so you can see that we're just over that 1 billion in property values for 22, and then that 8% increase would get us up to about 1.14 billion. And then the last page is the calendar for 23-24.
thanks.
Yeah, not that great. One more time.
Motion to approve what we're gonna present on Monday.
Yeah,
For the
I think,
budget levy. I don't know.
do we approve this?
It's
Yeah.
our core agenda, so.
Oh,
Yep, we do.
Sorry. So Vince, motion, Dave, second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Now we've got, B through L that are the second readings.
You leave the motion, I'll second.
Okay, motion to approve the second readings, B through L of our board policy.
Second.
So Vince made a motion and Derek seconded it. Is there any discussion? Comments, questions?
How come we couldn't go through B?
Those are for,
Is there be a?
Yeah, there's no actual
Or you?
vote on any of the first readings.
Oh, okay.
We go first.
so Vince, made the motion, Derek second. Any more discussion? Right. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And then I will make a motion to approve eliminating board policies. I through BI, I guess.
Right, so
One
Vince-
through whatever,
Six.
1 through 6. I don't know my Roman numerals. Super Bowl maybe. I guess.
Rodney talking something.
Oh, shoot. Vince made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Derek, second. All in favor or more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, those carry. Possible future agenda items. Anything? All right, then we'll move on to the upcoming dates that are important to remember and put in your calendar. July 24th is the school district annual meeting, budget hearing at 7 p.m. An annual meeting immediately following in the SCC Elementary School Library. August 3rd is the SCC Board Development Meeting at 5 in the district office. August 16th is the school board meeting at 7 p.m. here at the district office. I think that's it. Everybody got those in the calendar?
The board development meeting, is that the one where we get together with the administrators?
It is,
Okay.
yeah.
And admin's 1 to 5, and then they stick around to the board 5 to 9 together.
Yeah, it's a long day for them.
Yeah.
It's only 8 hours.
Yeah, it's a short day, actually.
How about the strategic planning committee meeting is
Oh, yeah.
8th.
Okay,
This
so,
will be in August.
so August 8th, strategic plan. Here at the
And the
district office.
16th and the 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was already sent out.
Yeah, I
So August 8th and
The 16th and the 30th.
thank you for that. All right, so Can we have a motion? Go into closed session?
Make a motion to go into closed session, doing the state statute 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, administrator contracts.
Vince made the motion,
Second.
Derek second. Go through roll call.
Eric? Aye. Eric?
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
All right. We'll go on to closed session at 8:30.